You're going to hear a lot of videos out there doing the reviews where you got people screaming to the top of their lungs, oh, this is the greatest bike ever, woo, yeah, great. You know, if you've been riding as long as I have, which is going on 3 decades now, I started young, all bikes are great bikes, really, they are. So, you know, it's like, what's the point? You know, they're all great, they're all beautiful in their own way. They're all geared towards a certain style rider. So what makes this one different than the others? Look at this. Okay, so let's get into the review of the bike. As I tried to explain earlier, my history with Harley Davidson brand, I had a 1999 FLHTPI electric glide top bike that was a twin cam 88 motor with the Magneti Morelli fuel injection. Got the bike with 30,000 miles on it when it met its demise due to a driver pulling out in front of it. I had 86,000 miles on it. It was a beautiful bike. On it, I had to upgrade the swing arm by replacing the cleat block assemblies with the brass version from True Track, as well as put in a True Track and a steering dampener because they had the Harley Wobble. And for those that have not experienced it, look it up. It's not a pleasant experience at all. So after that bike, I had a 2009 Ultra Classic. Put about 68,000 miles on that one. It had the twin cam 96. It was a great bike. Wheel bearing problems, but other than that, nothing major. Handled great. Then I fell in love with the 2014 Ultra Limited with the twin cooling. It had the twin cam 103, and that's the motor that the Harley Davidson Milwaukee 8 is replacing in the lineup. Now on this particular bike is the 2017 with the Milwaukee 8. The dealership, Appleton Harley Davidson in Clarksville, Tennessee. Glenn Appleton explained, and Jason Altenberg explained that this bike has had a cam upgrade, as well as the airbox and exhaust change out for the Screaming Eagle versions. It also has the fan on the second cylinder to bring down the heat, but considering it's 41 degrees out, heat's not going to be an issue. They've done some other cosmetic things to it, such as the hand grips, and seat's been changed to a road glide seat. Has a 60 bar on it and a rear rack as well. Now, beyond that, let's talk about the Milwaukee 8. The Milwaukee 8 is a new concept for Harley Davidson because it has the 4 valves per cylinder, which involves a rocker that has to have basically 2 fingers on it to push those valves down on each side of the rocker box. That allows more flow in and out of the piston, out of the chamber. It has 2 spark plugs per cylinder, which allows it to burn more efficiently. Gives it just a little bit more power, has a little bit more displacement than the 103 because this is 107. If you go on Harley Davidson's website right now, you can look up the specs for the 2016 103 and the 2017 107. You can see the difference between the two. Another difference in the Milwaukee 8 is it has a counterbalancer at the front of the engine to help reduce the vibrations. A counterbalancer on a twin cam only came on the Softail line. Those bikes were very smooth at idle and low RPM. Oh, the suspension still. I adjusted the suspension. It's still just slightly stiff, so my voice is going to vibrate with some of the imperfections in the asphalt. So anyhow, what was I talking about? Oh yeah. So the Softails had a counterbalancer. The counterbalancer on those was really good at idle, low RPMs, but when you get up to the higher RPMs, I heard some riders complain that there was a vibration. On this bike so far, I've only put 11 miles, well, no, 17 miles on this demo ride. And I'm going to pull in here. Pull in here and go over some of the talking points that I have written down. So I put 17 miles on it so far. I do experience a little bit of a vibration coming back and forth through the handlebars to footboards to buttocks, only when decelerating. In other words, rolling off the throttle. So yeah, I experience it then. So let's pop this open so I don't get so much echo. So yeah, I experience the vibration then. Is it bothersome? Well, that's one of the reasons why I'm out today on this bike. Try to give it a little bit of time to kind of talk to me and tell me what's going on. So let me whip out my handy dandy list. Go to the engine mounts on this. I noticed this engine mount up front is essentially the same as the twin cam up top, but it looks like they redesigned the mount going down in front of the engine itself. I know on the 2009s and my 99, I guess I need to turn that off. 2009s and my 99, the engine mounts were a little bit different setup. The primary's been shrunk in a little bit. It's not quite as deep as on the 2014 or the 2016s, unless you get the low version. They shrunk it in a little bit to give people with shorter inseam the ability to bring the shorter legs in closer to the bike, which is nice. Also noticed that the shifter arm on the transmission is different design. Don't quite know why that is. I haven't heard about that being different, but you see how it kind of curves. See how it kind of curves? See my shadow? See my shadow? Kind of curves there. That's new. Transmission's been changed. First gear is not supposed to whine as much as the previous version of transmission. Notice that the fueler oil dipstick's in a different spot. It's a little more straight up and down. See that right here? That's interesting. That's that cooling fan I was telling you about for the back cylinder. Try to bring that heat down a little bit. Not a lot of heat coming off of it. How's the seat? Well, this seat's off of a Road Glide special, I believe. Too stiff. It sits lower, and amazingly, I still end up looking over this darn windshield. This is a stock windshield, and it's strange because when I had this stock windshield with my stock saddle from a 2014 on my bike, and the frames are nearly identical except for the mount points for the engine and tranny, I get to look right at this edge, more or less. On this one, I'm still looking above it, so that's strange. So maybe the seat, even though it looks slimmer, really isn't slimmer. It may be more narrow. Maybe that's it. And so because it's more narrow, it pushes you up versus, if I had a smaller rear end, I'd sit down into it a little bit better. But I don't have a smaller rear end, so maybe that's it. How does it do on the rough roads? Some folks mention the groove from semis, in the asphalt can cause an issue. I haven't had that yet. Don't know. How stiff is it? Very stiff. Headlight. Let me explain for you guys who don't know. This headlight design, they've changed the reflector optics in it a little bit, but it is not that much different in appearance than one that I ran on my 1999 FLHTPI I didn't keep it for long because this is your high beam, this bottom circle, and as you see, it's real narrow, and it will focus the beam right down the road. This is your low beam, gives you a little bit of spread, which is fine. Problem is, you're riding the countryside at night, you got all these animals that like to jump out, and if you have a high beam that just focuses right down the road, you're kind of missing out on the opportunity to see ahead off to the side that deer that's kind of thinking, well, I'm going to wait till he gets a little bit closer before I step out. How's the wind? Not that great because my head's up too high. I need to figure out how to make myself shrink down a little bit. See if that helps. Oh, golly. So yeah, so the reviews, you know, everybody's, woohoo, what a great bike. Yeah, that's great. Cowbell got redesigned for the horn. See that? That was my camera angle. Good. Switch for the fan if you want to cool that back cylinder off. It's nice. Now, parts and accessory catalog for Harley Davidson. Did some research. When these bikes came out, love the bigger oil cooler. Love it, love it, love it, love it. As opposed to the twin cool system. Twin cool system on my 2014 is not that great. I'll explain that in my 50,000 review of that bike. This bike does have a twin cool option for the ultra, or excuse me, twin cool standard for the ultra limited and the Road Glide Ultra. It has the oil cooler for the Street Glide, Road King, and the regular Ultra. It is bigger than the previous oil cooler, which is nice, very, very good. More flow. Doing up the strap on my backpack. The more flow is nice, the more airflow is nice. It helps bring the temperature of the oil down. Only thing is, if you're sitting in traffic, how's it supposed to move air? So, those of you familiar with the Evolution motors know that oil coolers were big deals with them. Twin cams, some of those guys had oil coolers, and somebody came up with the idea to put an electronic fan behind them. Well, Harley Davidson does have that in the parts and accessories catalog. So, if I were to buy oil-cooled bike, I would definitely get that. In fact, I'd probably go with that setup first, and then if that didn't bring the temps down enough, then do the rear cylinder fan setup. Bringing the oil temperature down, to me, is a little bit better savings. While we're sitting here, while I'm thinking about it, this exhaust system is redesigned. This is not retro compatible with your 2016 through 2009 bikes. The redesign has a couple issues. Now, you know, maybe if you did some chopping and whatnot, you could probably get the pipes to fit the heads. But beyond that, you come down, your catalytic converter is a little further set back, and it goes back further. Goes back to here, it's your catalytic converter. Now, see this junction? Looks like 90 degrees. Unless they have some kind of splitter in there, how is the exhaust gas running at high flow going to make that 90 degree turn easy? I don't think it is, because look how big this is compared to this side. Quite a bit of difference. Well, it's about a half inch, but still, it's quite a bit of difference to me. So it's almost like they got a 2-into-1 going on. And then, well, if it still needs to shoot over, we'll let it come over. Come out the other side. Even on the 2016 through 2009 design, it still had a problem with it putting an equal amount of exhaust out at each side of the mufflers. So it's nothing new. This just seems a little more noticeable. So, alright. Me, I would have preferred if they went to an on-board compressor and we could sit here and tell the infotainment system, hey, I want to stiffen or soften my shocks. They even have a couple presets. Hint, hint, something to think about for the future. Oh man, this thing does not have headset. So look, it has a push to talk button, but if you don't have a mic, what's it going to respond to? It's not. So whatever. There we go. You can add a tie-in for the headsets, which would be great. And in fact, Cena has an ability to do one that can make it so you could use a Bluetooth headset with the system, but you still have to tie the module into the system somehow. Something to think about, but it's just one of those things. So, got my... So what is this bike aimed at? Okay, 3 types of riders that are going to consider this bike. Moving up from a cruiser. I had a cruiser in the past. It was a 2002 Yamaha Roadstar, which interestingly enough had 4 valves per cylinder, 2 spark plugs per head setup. Moving up from a cruiser, it gives you the ability to lock your saddlebags. If you went to the Road King with the hard bags, you could lock those. If you had a Road King Classic, you can get a locking kit for those. So that gives you some storage, which is nice, because if you are single, you probably don't have to answer to somebody as much as us married guys who have to pick up something on the way home from work to eat or milk or whatever. Excuse me. So that's something to consider. It's not a full dresser in that it doesn't have a tour pack. However, you can add one. So you could upgrade it to a full dresser. Let's see. If you're moving into a brand other than Harley, well, there are tons of videos out there, people thinking about stepping over to the Bar and Shield brand. So I'm not going to try to do that. If you're looking for a lot of specs and history on these bikes, I gave you a little bit, but if you're looking for a lot, there's a lot of other information out there. I'm not going to go into all the switches and doodads because, you know, that's another topic altogether. Okay, just a little bit of the history of the engines. There was a flathead, right? Knucklehead, panhead, shovelhead, Evolution twin cam Milwaukee 8. When the Evolution came out, the bottom and top of the jugs, each cylinder, were almost in a straight line, and somewhere someone had once referred to those as the blockhead. You got the twin cam motor. Twin cam motor came out, the heads were a little bit wider at the top than they were at the bottom. Those were called fatheads. In fact, I actually have a shirt somewhere that has the blockhead Evolution motor name, and then I believe it has the fathead on there. Then they came out with the Milwaukee 8. The Milwaukee 8, the way these rocker boxes kind of are sculpted to mimic the internals underneath, you have kind of like the shovel head split. You got your spark plug here, you got another one on the outside. This spark plug will be an interesting challenge to change. This one will be an interesting challenge to change. You're going to have to lift that tank up a little bit, just a little bit, and then get in there and pull those things out. How often do you change your spark plugs? Well, that depends. If you go by the manual, it's not that often. If you go by your experience on your ride, and you're like me, gosh, I've changed them at 5,000-10,000 miles, depending on how they're running, you know. But that's up to you. That's something to think about as well. More efficient burn. My 2002 Yamaha Roadstar, I was able to burn 87 octane in this. I'm not sure what the recommended octane in these are, but I'm pretty certain it's probably still the premium unleaded fuel. The design of the cam chest, I'll take that back. There's no longer a cam chest here because there's not twin cams. It's a single cam, but there is a chain that runs down that runs your oil pump. It does have a cam chain tensioner on that. That design's nice. It looks nice, at least. The twin cam motors had a problem with, you had two gears that were turned by a chain on one side of the cam plate, and on the other side of the cam plate you had another gear turning your oil pump on a chain. Cam chain tensioner here, cam chain tensioner on the other side of that plate. Problem with that is cam chain tensioners are basically a shoe that pushes against this belt, this chain that runs by it. They wear out, they get down to the metal, they disintegrate. Not a good idea. And hydraulic cam chain tensioner, which, whether or not that was a better design, yet to be seen. I never had a problem on my cam chain tensioner shoes wearing out. I never had a problem with that. I know after 1999, they recommended every 20,000 miles opening it up, checking them, especially the inboard, because it wore out more than the outboard. Never had an issue. Never even opened mine up. Never self-destructed. Again, it got retired from a crash. Not my fault. But anyway, back to this design. So one less cam chain to deal with, less pressure frees up more power results in more response. So they say. Concern I have is counterbalancer on the front of the motor is turned by a gear that's hooked to the crank. That has a little bit of power loss, but not as much, because I believe it's S&S Motors makes a gear set up to replace your cam chains on the side of the twin cam motors. I believe it's S&S Motors. So, alrighty then. Let's get some straight miles on this. I'll be quiet for a while unless I notice something really good to talk about this bike, or something really bad. Voltmeter is still reading the same as on my 2014. I know they put a bigger charging system into it, because they're supposedly dropped the idle RPM down to around 850 as opposed to 1,000. Idle RPM 850 versus 1,000 can save you fuel, but if you're familiar with drag racing, in drag racing there's a threshold that you want before you launch. Well, if you're at 850, that means you got to climb up more to get to that threshold to launch than you would if you have 1,000. However, with this thing having more flow, more torque, maybe that threshold's a little bit lower, so maybe you're not reaching as far as I think you're going to reach. I don't know. Not sure. Be neat to dyno these things. Pretty rapids right there. Pretty blue water too. Huh. I think it's the sky reflecting in it. Oh, somebody's been playing in the mud. I do like this acceleration. I will give it that. I do like that. That is nice. That is very nice. It's like you reach for it, you pull it, and it's there. Twist it and go. That's kind of nice. The twin cams, you have to climb up a little bit. You have to climb up a little bit on that short curve. Harley. Let's talk about ergonomics while we're coming across this beautiful little bridge here. Isn't that nice? Airbox is a lot more narrow than on the twin cam 103 on the 2014 and 2016 bikes. Is that a good thing? I don't know. If your airbox is more narrow, that means your leg gets to touch your paint. You want your leg touching your paint? Think about it. Vibrations. What does it do to the clear coat? Something to think about, boys and girls. Something to think about. Here we go, a little rough road. Look at this view, guys. This view. But we're not here to review the view, are we? No, we're here to review the bike. I'm so glad Jason Altenberg with Clarksville Appleton Harley Davidson in Clarksville allowed me to change the windshield. Oh, that other windshield, oh my gosh, it was horrible. It looks cool, it really does, and I know people that swear by that. Oh man, swear by that design, but geez Louise, people. Oh, damn. There's something said about being comfortable on a ride. You know, I've watched some other moto vloggers review this bike, review these bikes, not this particular bike, but the Milwaukee 8. They were all on street glides, which I think Harley pretty much said, all right, we're doing the street glides for demos. Everybody get one, and there you go. Rev limiter 6,200 RPM or 6,100. Didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that. Oh, damn it. Little lag there, little lag. You don't feel like you need to shift to the next gear. So that's kind of nice. In other words, you're not feeling it start to fall off the power curve. That's very interesting. Favorite curves. those little short windshields. Anyway, I think that wind noise is a bit much. Let's see. Does that help? No. One other thing I'm going to do before I start recording again. This is the Harley Davidson version of the chop down windshield, kind of like what Clockworks has. A lot of wind noise. I tried recording on the way out here, and the wind noise was so bad I was afraid it wasn't going to get good audio. Okay, so swapped out the windshield for a stock windshield off 2014 Limited. Kind of reduce some of the wind noise. It does better, but at speed still got some wind noise. Hello, first gear, neutral, there you go. Gearing. Speed versus gear, it's comparable to my 2014. Is there a whining noise in the first gear? Not really. Is there jerkiness in the first gear around idle? A little bit. You know, when you're coming along and it's wanting to buck a little bit. That's not a big deal. The clutch got redesigned so it could shrink down the primary. The older bikes, the twin cams, the transmission was notoriously clunky. In fact, I remember one time I was riding my 99 with a group of other Harleys, and we're riding along, and everybody went to shift at the same time, and it was like in unison. You could hear them all go ka-thunk. There have been times in the past I've ridden behind another Harley, I can hear them shift ka-thunk. This, no ka-thunk. It has a little click, so that's good. Get up and go. I'm not going to test it on this road. The surface isn't quite conducive for it. I'm going to get a few more miles on this thing before I try something like that. I definitely like the stock windshield better than that other one. You know, yeah, it's great to look badass, but it's another thing to actually be comfortable when you put miles on a bike. Good lord, stiff, damn. Come on. No need in all that. Really is no need in all that. What are these crazies doing with their hazards on? Okay, so we're running about 2,800 RPM, 50 miles an hour. I felt the vibration come through the bars on my hands, which was kind of odd. keen about stopping there. Yeah, I got a little vibration right now too. So what is with the vibration coming through like that? Interesting. It could be a difference in the grip, so I'll give you guys that. What is it? What is it? Not so sure. Have to figure that one out. There doesn't appear to be anybody in that thing. So, still though. Hey, little scooter! Still though, I know a better spot to do a little photography, a little video. Lean angle is different than my Ultra Limited for sure, because it sits lower. Goodness. Go, little scooter, go. Steep hill. Let's see how it does. Let's see, second gear, 20 miles an hour. Oh my goodness, it does pull, that's for sure. Pulls just a little bit harder than my bike. Of course, again, it has the cams. My cams are still stock for 2014, and my airbox is the Screaming Eagle airbox, Screaming Eagle exhaust. So maybe it's the cams on this bike that gives it the more room. But I've heard and read and watched that it is because this engine does flow a lot more exhaust through it. So that's interesting. Definitely interesting for sure. Okay, on a smooth road, cornering's nice. Still getting this vibration. It's a high frequency vibration going on. In the hands, and I'll let you know when I get it to the feet. It's not really in the feet. Well, there it goes. Yeah, right about there. So, around $3,000. What's up, Bart? Around $3,000 you fill it to the feet. Let's run it up a little bit. Definitely you get $4,000, it's in the feet, not as much in the hands. There you go, huh? So, it's been a while since I rode a Softail twin cam. I wonder if that's what they experience. And I also wonder if that's a cop behind me in their Ford Explorer. So I better be careful, huh? You gotta behave. Plus there's a big old hay bale up ahead. Okay, so what do we got going on? So what do you think? What do you think? If, coming from my perspective, somebody that puts between 15 to 20,000 miles on a bike per year and on a daily basis, and I walked into the dealership right now, and they had a 2016 new with 0.99% financing, 0 down, and they had a 2017. Which way would I go? Well, are you the type of person that wants the latest and greatest? Then you would go for the 2017. If you're a person who goes for the tried and true, you go for the 2016. If you're a person who worries about the money, you go for the 2016. Right? Unless you could finagle a deal on the 2017 to match the 2016. One more perspective to consider. Ah, yeah, let's go down here by the water. See how busy it is. One more perspective to consider. Neutral, where are you? Damn, neutral. I always like to start in neutral. I don't like to put more stress on the system than I have to as far as the clutch. Yeah, you know, that's something else. You ready? Neutral, come on now. There it is. Okay, so my 2014, my 2009, my 1999, go to first gear. You hear a really loud clunk. That's not as loud as the other one. At least it doesn't seem as loud. So I'll give it that. Okay, so testing the 2017 Street Glide with the Milwaukee 8, the newest engine from Harley Davidson. So far I've only put about 10 miles on this test ride, and noticed straight away that I need to adjust this suspension. It is stiff, way too bouncy. I should have done it before I left the dealer, and I can see right off the bat part of the reason. If you look between the saddlebag and the rail there, you can see that it's almost all the way bottomed out, which, goodness, really? You know, how's it supposed to absorb the shock? So, did a little pit stop, got my saddlebag bracket there, so I can take the saddlebag off, put it someplace so it doesn't fall over, get dinged up or whatever. Adjust that suspension correctly. I gotta look it up on the internet. Let's see if Harley has their owner's manuals online. Look, they got 0.99% APR in 2016 bikes, but excuse me. I need to go to the... Well, I will hand it to Harley. At least you got this guy set up on the internet. That's nice. Okay, rotate the knob. Double click, reach half turn. So it's a saddlebag. So, how much do I weigh? Well, I weigh between 240 and 250. And additional accessories, blah blah blah. I'm not really carrying anything, so we'll just say 0. 3 clicks. Really? Oh, those are standard length shocks with tour pack. Standard length without tour pack. Low length, that's what these are, with or without tour pack. 4 clicks. Okay. 4 clicks. It says rotate knob to desired setting, set back load, knob will click each half turn, turn knob half turns to fine tune. So what, 2 clicks? Wow, doesn't seem like much, does it, guys? Not for a big old boy like me, right? Mm-hmm. 4 clicks. See if it's truly a half turn. It is. 2. It's a little stiff now. 3. 4. Yeah, it was cranked up to that. So we'll try this. See if that softens it up some. I noticed something right here. This little hole is where, like on my bike, the 2014 Ultra Limited has air suspension. And then the 2017s went with this suspension setup and it only adjusts on the left side. Air suspension was air over oil shocks. You would tie in your little hand pump right here and pump it up. Which on my air suspension, based on my weight, I have to put 38 psi for it to feel comfortable. From riding with full load or a passenger, I go to 48 psi. If I went to the full 50, it would be way too stiff. So that's interesting. It's only 4 clicks. Is that 4 turns or 4 clicks? Full turns. It would be nice if I would have slid over, right? So far I've only done 2 full turns. Let's start over. Start over, they recommend going all the way back to the bottom. Okay, so there's bottom. So that's 1. 1.5. You notice there's a little raised area there. So that's nice, so if you miss the click. It really isn't that easy. 2. 2.5. 3. A lot of excitement, huh? 3.5. Right. And this should be 4. Which almost lines up with that right there. So it was a slightly stiff. See if this feels better. You can always crank it down a half click. Adjusting the rear suspension, how easy is it really? Not that easy. This thing's still fairly stiff, and it's not because of the saddle. It's the suspension travel. I'm willing to bet, because you can feel it in the front end too. But I know they upgraded the suspension in the front and the rear over the previous year model. The rear on these did have the crank suspension. In fact, my 2014 manual even talks about the hand adjustable suspension over the air suspension. My preference, I'm going to have to say air suspension, because right now, to soften this puppy up, I'm going to have to loosen up the saddlebag, rotate it out, reach in there, crank on it, and then put it back. But what's curious is, why does it go so high? I mean, who needs 20 cranks? Let's look at that real quick. Who needs 20 cranks on the suspension? Twenty cranks is, wow. 23 cranks is top end. And that is for somebody who weighs around 270 and carrying about 180 pounds of passenger weight, cargo, whatever. Wow. That's quite a variance between 4 and 23. Very interesting. Like I was explaining on my 2014, I got to go 38 psi when it's just me on it. And I do carry some luggage, you know, like rain gear and whatnot, on everyday riding. Okay, so yeah, air suspension I think is a little bit easier. I'm pretty sure, considering they still have the hole, you could probably do a retrofit. So that's something you may want to consider. Now, I will say this, air suspension, be very careful about, because of the fact that one of my friends, he has a 2015 Ultra, and he hit a really hard pothole on a trip, and it blew one of the lines, and that was a mess. Let's see if I can do it this way. There we go. 1/2. Let's go a full turn. Let's try that. See if it makes it softer. Gosh, that is so weird. Got some rough gravel or tar and chip here. Yeah, it's definitely more stiff. Now, it could be also because of that front wheel having a lower profile than my Ultra Limited. That could be part of it too, but is it all of it? I don't know. I don't think it's all of it. I think it's the suspension itself. Now, dropping the suspension a couple clicks in the back end did help. So maybe I'm not as heavy as my scale says I am, but I doubt it. I really doubt it. Visor popped open. See, I got a little warm back there walking around in the sun talking to you guys about this bike. Yeah, softening the rear suspension helped a little. Kind of worried though that I'm only at like 3 full turns from bottom out. Seems kind of odd. Ugh. Still a little stiff though. Still a little stiff. A little too stiff. Gosh, I couldn't imagine if you had that puppy cranked up to 23. It'd be like riding a pogo stick. That wouldn't be good, would it? I do like that they beveled the edge of these bolts to go in. It makes it a little easier to thread. Don't like that these bolts stick out into the bag as far as they do. The quarter turn bales, they don't stick out as far. But there was a recall on those because apparently quarter turn bales had a problem with coming undone. And one coming undone might not be a problem. Both coming undone. There goes your saddlebag. Not a good idea. Don't know about acceleration, vibrations, hand, feet, and butt. Yes, I'm getting a little bit of a vibration on deceleration, and you'll feel it kind of go from your feet to your hands to your butt and then back again in a pattern. I'm not quite sure why that is. It's really interesting. It's a really interesting thing to happen. Was vibration a big problem with the twin cams? Depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about at idle, boy oh boy, the twin cams, they were like paint shakers on the twin can A motors. Twin cam Bs, not so much because it had a counterbalancer like this has a counterbalancer. But the twin cam Bs did vibrate at a higher RPM going down the road. Another perspective is the engine heat. Again, it's only 43 degrees right now, so I really can't do much of a comparison. Engine heat. It'd be kind of silly. Look at my other videos about the engine heat that I've experienced on my 2014 Ultra Twin Cam 103 and some of the ideas I've had to try to reduce that. Throttle response is a lot more snappy on this bike. A lot more snappy. But that could come down to your throttle management system being programmed differently. There are a lot of aftermarket tuners that would allow you to do that. Oh, big old thick gloves. Okay. Big old thick gloves. love sweepers. These are sweepers, they're not twisties, so just chill out, everybody, chill out. Oh, yeah. So what? Oh, there go the feet. There go the feet. Oh, dang. It's like a freaking foot massager. What the heck? Come on, people. Maybe it's the boards. Maybe it's the boards. Give it. Come on, Harley. Give it the benefit of the doubt. But damn it. Damn it, boy. Has a nice spirited pace, that's for sure. I wish the suspension was a little more fluid. Not necessarily spongy, just fluid. Right now it's chopped. It's like and then maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm feeling that vibration more intense too. Because if you think about it, if your suspension's really stiff, vibration goes through the bike, the harmonic vibration travels, gets telegraphed from one end to the other and back again. Where's it going to go? If you have a soft suspension, the suspension may absorb some of that and it dissipates. How this goes? Going 30, rolling on, third gear. Yeah, it doesn't scream as loud, like it's really straining like the twin cam does. Not that the twin cam's strange, it just has a whole different sound to it. I think the 4 valves per cylinder is a big improvement. I just don't think I think they just kind of slightly missed the mark. Now, people say, well, it's a Harley, it should vibrate. But, gosh, you know, we went to rubber-mounted powertrains. You know, what's the point of it? What's the point? Okay, again, back to the question. If you were walking in the dealer and you had to choose between twin cam 103, Milwaukee 8 107. Oh my. I'd be tempted to go with that 103. I really would. I really would. Over the 107. If it was a twin cam 110 versus Milwaukee 8 107, definitely go with the 110, I would say. It's that vibration that's kind of it takes away from some of the fun. For me, it does, and golly, you know, I've had 3 of these big old boogers. Now, I will say the twin cams do have a pulse shake at idle at a stoplight. They will sit there and bobble your head, even at 1,000 RPM idle. You know, damn. You know, that's just how they're built. So let's recap since I'm behind this slow vehicle before I put the other windshield back on. All things being equal between the two bikes, I will say this bike loves to be between $3,000 and about 5,200 RPM. Smooth, minimal vibration. Between 2,500 and $3,000 is where you get that annoying back and forth vibration between your hands and your feet. If you walked into a dealer, and all things being equal as far as finance goes, between the twin cam Milwaukee 8, it will be a coin toss. It really will. If you are looking for a more, I guess, higher, flatter power curve, Milwaukee 8 has it. If you're looking for less vibration as you are actually riding, and where you will be riding most likely, twin cam has it. If you're looking at less vibration at idle, cruising around town, Milwaukee 8 has it. Excuse me, twin cam's gonna do that loping at the stoplights. question, is it the bike to get? If you are a single guy, Street Glide's for you. If you're married, Street Glide's for you. You ride 2 up, go with an Ultra. You can also go with a Road King for any of the guys. Depends on your style. But the question about the power plant, if there was not a new twin cam, I would be tempted to get the Milwaukee 8. I would prefer if they got rid of the vibration. I really would. Too much of a distraction. I'd definitely upgrade the suspension. I mean, even to me, even the air over shocks feels like a better ride. I know that goes against what everybody else says, but you got to ask yourself: do all those other people that you've seen, are they putting 15 to 20,000 miles on their bikes in a year? Will you be putting that on yours? If not, then yeah, well, you know, the suspension may work fine for you. So yeah, go ahead and keep it. That's up to you. I would definitely recommend getting an extended warranty if you got one. I highly recommend that. Ever since I've gotten my 2009, I've always gotten the extended warranty, and even with my 2014, I've gone through having the front wheel bearings replaced twice. The 2009, I had it replaced twice, and on the 2009, when I traded it in at 68,000 miles, I believe, yeah, it was well worth it. Goodness forbid the new technology in the engine, the new engineering, that fails, that something goes wrong with it. So yeah, the extended warranty is something to invest in. If there was a new twin cam on the showroom floor, I would go with the new twin cam, but I would also get the extended warranty as well. So